When people talk about Manchester United's weaknesses under Rúben Amorim, the conversation usually begins in midfield. Casemiro, no longer the relentless destroyer of old, now faces doubts about whether he still has the legs to dominate the vast spaces Amorim's system demands. Manuel Ugarte shows flashes of potential, but still looks like a player adjusting to the Premier League's unrelenting pace. Bruno Fernandes is forced into unfamiliar positions, and young Kobbie Mainoo continues his education in tactical discipline. Yet, for all the scrutiny on that area, United's midfield isn't the heart of the problem. The true fragility lies behind it, in the defense, where cracks in Amorim's evolving structure are increasingly visible. With Lisandro Martinez sidelined by another long-term injury, the weight of United's defensive line now rests heavily on one man's shoulders, Luke Shaw. Once considered one of the best left-backs in England, Shaw has become a polarizing figure, both a trusted leader and a frequent target for criticism. Every performance he gives is examined frame by frame, every mistake magnified. But is he truly the weak link, or simply a victim of a tactical revolution still finding its balance? Under Amorim, Manchester United have shifted toward a more direct, high-pressing identity, a system modeled after the success that made the Portuguese coach so admired at Sporting Lisbon. His 3-4-3 setup, which morphs into a 3-2-5 when attacking, relies on center-backs who can press high, distribute intelligently, and defend wide-open spaces without hesitation. For Shaw, that transition meant a major change. No longer a marauding left-back, he now operates as the left-sided center-back, a role that, on paper, fits his technical profile. He's composed in possession, comfortable carrying the ball, and capable of breaking lines with his left foot. In United's build-up, he remains essential, forming passing triangles with Patrick Dorgu and the left midfielder to escape pressure and launch attacks. But Amorim's version of the role demands more than composure. It demands anticipation, timing, and spatial awareness of the highest order. Shaw's job isn't just to pass and cover. It's to simultaneously press forward, protect the flank behind Dorgu, and maintain connection with Matthijs de Ligt in central defense. It's a constant balancing act. One mistake in positioning and United's entire shape collapses. When the team presses high, the space between Shaw and de Ligt often stretches dangerously. If Dorgu is caught upfield, Shaw is left to patrol a wide, exposed channel, forced to decide whether to step forward to press or drop back to cover. Too often, he does neither decisively. His instincts as a fullback make him reactive, tracking the ball rather than predicting the danger. Against the Premier League's quickest wingers, that hesitation is fatal. Amorim wants his outside centre-backs to be proactive, stepping into midfield to suffocate opposition build-up. But Shaw's timing has frequently betrayed him. He presses half a step too late or too early, and that's all elite attackers need to exploit the space behind him. In United's mid-block, the problem only grows worse. When the midfield pushes high to engage, the gap between the two lines often exceeds 25 meters, far too much ground for a back three to protect. Shaw is frequently forced to step into midfield to close down dropping forwards, leaving his defensive zone vacant. And if a through ball bypasses him, United are instantly exposed. That weakness, the corridor between Shaw and de Ligt, has already become a well-known target. Teams like Manchester City and Fulham have repeatedly struck through it, using quick vertical transitions to punish United's disjointed defensive spacing. Still, it would be unfair to call Shaw disastrous. Statistically, he wins more than half of his duels and remains among United's best in progressive passing. But numbers can be deceiving. In direct defensive situations, particularly one-on-ones against quick or physically dominant attackers, he has struggled. His success rate in direct duels sits around 57%, lower than any of United's defenders, apart from Lenny Yoro. Those percentages don't just hint at inconsistency, they reveal a deeper issue of defensive intuition. The first and most consistent problem is Shaw's eagerness. He's too desperate to win the ball back immediately, often overcommitting and misjudging distances. The opening match of the season against Arsenal offered a perfect example. Shaw charged forward to press after a single touch from the opponent, only to be sidestepped easily and forced into a foul that handed Arsenal a dangerous set piece. The second recurring flaw is his defensive stance. Against top-tier wingers like Jeremy Doku or Bukayo Saka, Shaw often stands square to the ball. That upright stance kills agility, locking the hips and making quick turns impossible. Doku and Saka thrive on those milliseconds, one feint, one change of direction, and they're past him. Ideally, Shaw needs to stay side-on, low, with one foot forward, ready to pivot and shepherd his opponent toward the touchline. But too often he's flat-footed, reacting a half-beat too late. It's the muscle memory of a fullback, defending by instinct rather than by geometry. But as a central defender, every misstep carries greater risk. A beaten fullback leaves room for recovery. A beaten center-back leaves only the goalkeeper. His third major weakness comes when marking strikers with their back to goal. Shaw likes to engage quickly, using physical contact to unsettle the forward. But against the likes of Erling Haaland or Ollie Watkins, that aggression backfires. He steps in too tight, too high, and is easily rolled off. Against Fulham's Rodrigo Muniz, a similar mistake nearly cost United another goal, saved only by De Ligt's desperate recovery run. These are not isolated errors. They are symptoms of a player caught between instinct and instruction, a defender adjusting to a system that punishes the smallest hesitation. To understand where Shaw must improve, one only needs to look at his injured partner, Lisandro Martinez. The Argentine is everything Amorim wants from a left-sided center-back: compact, cerebral, and relentlessly disciplined. Despite his modest height, Martinez wins nearly 77% of his direct duels, not through strength, but through posture, timing, and anticipation. The difference lies in control. Martinez never commits too early. He maintains that vital half-step of space, close enough to apply pressure, yet distant enough to react. He defends with patience and precision, waiting for the moment an opponent overplays the ball or telegraphs their move. Shaw, by contrast, often lunges into challenges instead of luring attackers into mistakes. Against fast wingers, Martinez positions his body at a slight diagonal, 30 to 45 degrees, so he can pivot either way and funnel his opponent into less dangerous territory. Shaw, standing square, gives himself no such advantage. Small details like this separate a good defender from a great one. Even against physically imposing forwards, Martinez knows when to engage. He waits for that extra heartbeat, allowing himself to read the first touch before closing down. Shaw, still driven by instinct, dives in too early and too upright. One subtle turn, and he's gone. But it would be simplistic to lay all blame at Shaw's feet. Amorim's system, ambitious as it is, often exposes him. When Dorgu surges forward as the wingback, United's left flank becomes perilously open. Ideally, the left-sided holding midfielder should drop back to form a compact triangle with Shaw and De Ligt. Too often, that rotation happens a second too late, and Shaw is left alone, isolated against waves of counterattacks. This structural flaw is as much a tactical issue as it is an individual one. Amorim's philosophy is aggressive and progressive by nature, but it relies on near-perfect coordination. Without it, defenders like Shaw bear the brunt of its risks. Luke Shaw isn't a poor defender. He's a skilled, intelligent player caught in a system that magnifies his weaknesses. His struggles aren't about effort or attitude. They're about adaptation. Amorim is asking him to evolve from an instinctive, reaction-based defender into one who anticipates danger before it appears. That transformation takes time, and it takes mistakes. With Martinez still sidelined, Shaw will remain under the spotlight, tested week after week, not only by Premier League attackers, but by Amorim's relentless tactical expectations. The question now is whether Shaw can learn from his absent teammates' example and become the kind of defender this system requires, or whether he'll continue to be the fault-line opponent's target, the symbol of a Manchester United defense still searching for balance under its bold new manager.